Hello dear students, today we are going to see the next portion of respiration in organisms. So in the previous video, the session, we have studied about the actual meaning of respiration, breathing, types of respiration and along with their chemical reactions and the locations where they actually happens. So in this session we are going to see about the actual differentiation in between respiration and breathing, and along with this we will see the human respiratory system and their different parts along with their functions and their roles. So the difference in between respiration and breathing is what? The respiration is a biochemical process. So see why it is called as a biochemical process. The respiration which takes place inside the cells of one organelle, that is a mitochondria. The reaction which is carries means the oxidation which takes place, means the breakdown of food material takes place in presence of oxygen and different chemicals. Okay, so that's why it is known as a biochemical process. So the chemicals means nothing but some enzymes they were used to break down the food material. That's why it is known as a biochemical. But in case of breathing, the process is a physical one, means only the taking and releasing of gases takes place, means uptaking of oxygen from surrounding and releasing of carbon dioxide from body. So that is a only physical process, breathing. So the next point, the both are extracellular and intracellular, means a respiration takes place inside and outside also. Inside how? First of all we will see how the outside, means from outside the oxygen is going to be required take, and later that is going inside. Okay, and inside what is going to be done? The food material is going to be break down with the help of oxygen and different chemicals. So that's why it is called as a both intra and extracellular process. So next is the breathing is extracellular. Why it is called as extracellular? Because only the taking and releasing of oxygen is taking place, simply means from outside the oxygen is requiring, that is going to lungs, and that is again going to be removed in the form of a carbon dioxide. So that is a not any kind of a reaction is going to be takes place. That is a extracellular, means outside the cell the process which is taking place, that is called as a extracellular process. But in case of respiration, the extra and intra, means inside the cell also the process is going to take place, and outside the cell also the process is going to be takes place. That's why it is called as a extra and intracellular, and breathing is called as a extracellular process. So next is, in the respiration enzymes are required, means as I told it is called as a biochemical process. So the enzymes also are some type of a chemicals which involved in the breakdown of food materials to release some kind of a energy. So in case of a breathing, no any kind of enzymes required or involved in the breathing process, because it is a physical and outside the cell this process takes place. Next, it releases energy. So in case of respiration, we have seen when the glucose molecule break down with the help of oxygen and some enzymes, it releases carbon dioxide, water molecule and the some kind of energy in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So that's why the energy releases takes place in the respiration. In case of a breathing, no energy released. Why? Because there is no any kind of ATP synthesis takes place, because only the oxygen is taking inside and carbon dioxide is releasing outside. So in such a process, no any formation of energy going to be takes place. Next is all body cells are involved. See why it is called as all body cells are involved in respiration? Because in each and every cells of body the mitochondria is going to be present. So mitochondria is nothing but a powerhouse of the cell, nothing but there only the respiration process takes place. So we have seen it is extra and intracellular process. It means that all body cells are involved in the respiration process. It means in all over the body, wherever the cells are present, there the respiration process takes place. That's why all body cells are involved in the respiration process. But in case of a breathing, only certain organs are involved. Initially I said it is a physical process. Why? Because the oxygen is going to be take inside the body, and from the lungs it is going to be removed in the form of a carbon dioxide. It means some certain organs are only involved. So the lungs are involved in this process, in the breathing process, taking and releasing of carbon dioxide. So that is a breathing. So this was the actual differentiation in between the respiration and the breathing. So next we will see how the respiratory system works, means which are the parts and what are their own functions. So the parts are as below: nostrils, nasal cavity, pharynx, trachea, lungs, bronchi, bronchioles and alveoli, and at the last diaphragm. So the nostril, nasal cavity, pharynx and trachea, what are these kind of parts? These are actually the parts of human respiratory system. So you can see in the image the nostril which is given. So what is it? It is an opening through which the air is taken in. The air is nothing but oxygen is going to be taken inside the body with the help of a nostrils. So it is a fine hair present to filter the air taken in. So the nostril is consisting of a fine hairs. Means what is the role of having hairs inside the nose? Nostril is nothing but a part of a nose. So these are the opening through which air is going to be taken inside, and the fine hairs helps to trap the foreign particles, or that may be a dust or any kind of a dirt. Okay, the hairs helps to defend or to prevent instead of going inside the body. So that is the role of hair present in the nostrils. So the next part is the nasal cavity. So nasal cavity where the air reaches through the nostrils. So this is one cavity where the air reaches through the nostrils. So nostrils is nothing but a nose where from the air enters and traps towards the nasal cavity. So it is also a having a central septum, and it divides. Septum means a division which is going to be divided into two parts, that is a left and right air passage. Means when the air passes or enters through the nostrils, when it enters in the cavity of a nasal cavity, so during that process the two septums are divided in the nasal cavity, that is the left and right. So what, for which purpose? Just to pass the air by dividing the two nostrils. So you can see inside the our means the nostril which is having two cavities. So that is a nasal cavities. The cavities having two pipe like structures or tube like structures which are divided as a right and left just to pass the air. Next, the nasal passages are lined with the ciliated epithelium and mucous moisture. So see, the nasal passages are lined. Lined means they are made up of some epithelial cells or the tissues which is having a hair-like structure. It is known as a ciliated. Cilia are nothing but a small fine hair like projections which helps to trap the dirt or the dust molecules. So and having also mucous moisture. Mucous moisture means some liquid portion that is present inside the nose just to keep the air warm or a cooler one. So next is the I can show in the image. Let's see. So you can see the nasal cavity is shown there, that is going to be divided into two cavities. Okay, so next part after the nasal cavity is the pharynx. So here see, the nasal cavity is there, and this is actually the nostril, then it is having two cavities, then next portion is the pharynx. So that is going to be divided in two parts, that's why it is having known as a septum. Okay, so next part or next part of the human respiratory system is the pharynx. So the pharynx is a common passage of a food and air. So it is actually a common passage for the food and air. So you can see here the connection is here for both wind and food pipe, this one. Okay, so that is the pharynx, which is going to connect the both food and air pipe. So here the food goes to the esophagus. The esophagus is actually the passage of a food where actually takes place. So next is air goes to the trachea. So next pass, that is a trachea, which is a tube like structure which actually helps to pass the air. Next is trachea lies in front of esophagus. So see, in front of esophagus means the first, which is a tube like structure at the left hand side, that is a trachea, and on the right hand side, that is a esophagus. Means esophagus, which is a food pipe which helps to pass the food, and another one trachea which passes the air. Means both are connected but having a spectrum, or we can say the dividation is there but both are connected with the pharynx. So that is why it is a common passage for a food and air. Next is epiglottis. So what is the epiglottis? Let's see. Epiglottis is a small cartilaginous flap of a skin. So it is just a flapping of a skin. So it prevents a food from entering the respiratory tract. So where actually the pharynx is present, so where from the trachea is going to be start. Okay, from that region some flapping, means just folding like a structure is present just to prevent the food to enter in the trachea. Means we know that the trachea is a windpipe just to pass the air, but esophagus is only to pass the food. If the food will enters in the trachea, then we will get some disturbance, is it? So just to prevent it, there is some flipping like skin is present, that is known as a epiglottis. Next is trachea, the main point where actually the air passes, it is known as a trachea, and it is also called as a windpipe because air passes through it. Next, air passes from pharynx into this pipe. So because the pharynx is the first part, or which is a common for both air and food passing, so that's why that starts from pharynx and enters into the trachea. Next, it extends to mid thoracic cavity and having a C-shaped ring of cartilage is present. So see where from it is starting, from the trachea, from the larynx or pharynx, it is going to be extend till the thoracic cavity. Okay, so it is a C-shaped. It is a C-shape. You can see it is a C-shaped and having a ring of cartilage present. So if you can able to see properly, it is having a ring like structure on it. So this is actually the ring like structure. Okay, the tube which is present, that is a ring in structure. Next is the lungs, the main part of the respiratory system, that is the lungs. So lungs are the spongy and elastic organs. Spongy means like a sponge, and elastic, so it can be elongate, means for the relaxation and contraction purpose the elasticity is present in the lungs. So it is located in a thoracic cavity, and the two pairs of lungs are present, that is right and left. So see here, the right lungs also having a two lobes. Two lobes means having a let me show here. Sorry, the right lungs having a 3 lobes. You can see the lobes means a partition, means 3 parts are there. If suppose this is the first and this is second, means 1 2 3. Okay, and the second or the left lung having a 2 lobes only. 2 lobes means this much partition, first lobe, second lobe. Lobe is nothing but a small portions. So the the right lungs having a 3 lobes, those are called as a superior lobe. Superior means which is present upper, inferior means which is present at the below, and the central one is, it is called as a middle lobe. But in case of left lung, the 2 lobes are present, that's why it is having only superior and inferior lobes. Superior means upper one, inferior means the lower one lobe or the part of a lung. So the 2 pairs of lungs are present, but the two are divided in a 3 or 2 lobes. Means the right lung divided into 3 lobes, and the left lung is divided into the 2 lobes. So the 3 lobes are superior, inferior and middle, and second lung, that is the left one, which is having a 2 lobe, that is having only superior and inferior lobes. Next part, it is enclosed by a 2 layered membrane called as a pleura. So it is having a layering membrane, so that is called as a pleura. It plays an important role, means the lungs plays an important role in breathing process, means the oxygen absorption. What it does, it used to absorb the oxygen and releases the carbon dioxide. So that is the next part actually, but it's a main role just to take up the or absorb the oxygen through the breathing process. Next part is bronchi. So bronchi is a trachea divided into thinner tubes called a bronchi. So bronchi means what? We see in the image. So see here, the trachea divides into the thinner tubes. So see here, the trachea means this pipe, and that is divided into these thinner, see, these thinner tubes. So those are actually the thinner tubes. So next is, and it is called as a bronchi. So when the trachea divides into thinner tubes, those are called as a bronchi. Next, those enters into the thoracic cavity. So thoracic cavity is nothing but this one portion. Okay, so that is going to be enters in the lungs, or that is a thoracic cavity. So right bronchus divide into 3 lobes. As I told, the right bronchus divided into the 3 like this. Okay, 1 2 3. Next, the left bronchus divided into the 2, this one and this one. Next part is a bronchioles. So what is meant by the bronchioles? Each branches of a bronchi further divided into the finer branches. So once again, see here, when the bronchi divided into 3 parts, again they having a fine structure on them. Okay, fine structure. So those are nothing but a small or the fine branches which is again divided. So that division of portion is called as a bronchiole. That part is called as a bronchioles. So you can see here where it is labeled. Next, it is supported by incomplete cartilaginous ring. So it is supported by incomplete cartilaginous rings. So the cartilaginous rings which are present on the bronchi, they are going to be support the bronchioles. So next, each bronchioles ends in a cluster of tiny air chambers. Again, if you see, suppose this is a what can be trachea, which is going to be divided in a thinner tube, that is called as a bronchi. Again, that bronchi is going to be convert into bronchioles. So that is like this. Okay, again that bronchiole is going to be divide into some parts like branches. Okay, like these branches, but these branches are having some clusters like this on them. If you are able to see in the image, no problem, like this is small clusters of tiny air chambers, those are called as a tiny air chambers. You can see here named as alveoli. So the each bronchiole ends in a clusters of tiny air chambers are called as alveoli. So are called as alveoli. So here you can see the small tiny or clusters air chambers are called as alveoli. So here actually the main role of exchanging the gases of oxygen and carbon dioxide done by alveoli. How we will see here. So the each bronchioles end in a clusters of tiny air chambers called as alveoli. So alveoli is having each bronchioles in a clusters, then only it is called as alveoli. See now, the alveoli provides a surface where the exchange of gases can take place. So as I told, the alveoli present on the surface of the lungs. Here you can see on the surface of the lungs these are present. It means those only taking up a oxygen through trachea, then the bronchi, then the bronchioles, and it is connected at the edge of lungs. So it is means it provides a surface where the exchanges of gases can take place. So where on the surface of a lungs only the exchange of gases takes place through the alveoli, through the only alveoli. It means the alveoli are the major part of a human respiratory system where exchange of gases actually takes place. Now here if you see stepwise what happens, air passes means oxygen passes through the nostril, next to the pharynx, next pharynx to the trachea, from the trachea it will be goes to bronchi, next it will goes to the bronchiole, next it will move towards the alveoli, next from the alveoli the lungs which is having different kinds of blood vessels, those blood vessels supply the air means supply the oxygen through all over the body. It means in this process like this the breathing takes place and the exchange of gases takes place, means the oxygen enters through the nostril and ends or goes through the alveoli towards the whole body parts with the help of different blood vessels which are spreaded in the body. So this is actually where exchange of gases takes place. How? Through these parts we have studied in this session. So the alveoli are the functional unit of lungs. It means the alveoli only the functional unit of the lungs, because without, if any alveoli will be get damaged, the lung cannot be properly work. It is based on the alveoli. Alveoli is nothing but the bronchial ends in a clusters of tiny air chambers called as a alveoli. Next, the wall of alveoli contains an extensive network of blood vessels. So alveoli again connected with the different blood vessels like a capillaries. That's why this oxygen from surrounding can be passes or can be reaches till the different body parts with the help of capillaries. So this is actually how the human respiratory system is there, and it act with help of different their parts and ends with the capillaries. So all the body parts will get oxygen in this way only. The simple way The oxygen enters to the nostril, next to the pharynx, next to the trachea. Trachea divided in some branches like portions like bronchi, bronchioles, next alveoli. Alveoli touches to the surface of lungs, that is nothing but having a different blood vessels, that is a capillaries. Through them the oxygen reaches towards the whole body part and body gets oxygen. So now how the carbon dioxide releases? Likewise only from the blood vessels only the carbon dioxide going to be collected from all over body and reaches to alveoli. From alveoli again it goes towards bronchioles, from the bronchiole towards the bronchi, next to the trachea, next to larynx, next to pharynx, next to the nasal cavity, next towards the nostrils. So this is actually reverse process where the oxygen reaches and releases of a carbon dioxide takes place. So this was about the human respiratory system, how it takes place and how it each and every parts does a work very properly. So for any doubts and difficulties you can ask me anytime. Till now, thank you.